How you doing? It's Kevin Martinez. You may have seen me perform with the Speed Bumps, Roger Hoover and the Hurt, or even with the Canton Symphony Orchestra, which I had the pleasure of doing last fall. I'm here today to talk to you about a great show coming up this Saturday. The Canton Symphony Orchestra. It's part of their Masterwork series. It's featuring works by Richard Wagner and Igor Stravinsky. The first half of the program is three pieces, three excerpts from Richard Wagner's epic opera, The Ring Cycle. And the second half of the program is Igor Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, the ballet he wrote, and that was premiered in 1913. I really like this program. It's really good choices. Both pieces and both composers really pushed the limits and innovated and challenged listeners both harmonically and stylistically and in terms of form as well. Uh, the three Wagner pieces. The first is the Prelude in Leibstadt from Tristan and Isolde, and that's a really great piece. It's Tristan and Isolde is considered one of the more groundbreaking monumental operas, one of Wagner's best. Certainly his most free and contemporary sounding. The form, it's almost formless. It's just expanding on themes and playing with mood and plot. Um, the the opera actually spawned its own chord, the Tristan chord, which is the Tristan's theme. One of the harmonic centerpieces of the whole opera uh, is in jazz terms, we would call it, or in modern music theory terms, you could call it an F minor 7 flat 5 with the third on the top. Um, but even in jazz, that's not a chord that is necessarily the center, is not necessarily home base. It's part of what we do to prepare a minor key to resolve to a minor key, and that's not certainly not just jazz, pop music and rock and everything. Um, but at the time, it was a new, certainly a new type of a harmony to focus a piece on. It was more dissonant than what was considered, you know, uh, acceptable even by a lot of people for the time. Um, and the piece itself really is amazing. It's the entire prelude doesn't really ever cadence and resolve to anything. It just stays focused and building on this harmony, and it really just builds tension throughout the piece. You do technically have some cadences to a home base or a sort of a home key, but they're so fleeting. As soon as he takes you there, he'll throw in another note that'll just jar it a little bit loose and start to prepare some more tension for another build. And so you really never get a release or a sense of what I like to call the exhale. When you resolve to the home key and you just kind of, whew, you never really get that until the end of the Leibstadt, the end of the last piece in the opera. So you know, uh, more than three quarters of the way through the entire piece, you finally get a resolution to home that feels like the cadence, the end of a phrase, and I think it got some critical reviews at the time for it because it was considered too dark and not a pleasurable experience. And but today I listen to it and I hear a lot of beautiful harmonies in there. A lot of the things that were considered dissonant at the time. The human brain has a great way of assimilating those things, and over time, dissonances become more consonant. I mean, anyone who's listened to jazz or hip hop or rock music has had a consonant experience with something just as dissonant as anything that's going on in this Wagner piece. Um, and it really sets up well the last half of the program, which is the Igor Stravinsky Rite of Spring Ballet, which is even further along in the journey of tonality, even further away from Wagner. It doesn't necessarily resolve to anything ever. It's polytonal and atonal at times and entonal at times, but rhythmically and harmonically dense and challenging. It very famously caused a riot when it premiered in 1913, um, because it was just so far ahead of anything else. And the audience probably came in looking for a ballet about spring. That's going to be that's a very romantic kind of romantic era kind of setup. A ballet about spring sounds very florid and just pretty and dancing, but this was very dark and challenging, both musically and in terms of choreography at the time. Um, and so it caused a riot. The cops came and there was scuffles and people shouting obscenities at the performers, and it was apparently quite a scene. But case in point, like I was mentioning just a minute ago about the ability of our ears to hear something as consonant or as dissonant, and then down the road assimilate it as consonant. A year and a half after its premiere, it was getting standing ovations as opposed to riots. And you could critically say that that part of that is due to the celebrity and the publicity he gained from causing a riot in the first place, and that would be a fair point. But I would also say it has something to do with the plasticity of the brain, the way the ear actually hears music and processes it and assimilates it. The parts of the brain that end up sensing those vibrations through your ear are some of the most plastic and elastic parts of your brain. They are able to change the way they view things, so they can view an experience as one way and view that same experience a very different way later on. And so a harmony is an experience. So a chord can be dissonant, and it can honestly become consonant down the road as you learn more of it. And that goes in well with why a lot of people go to see orchestral music. They might listen to pop music and rock music, but they want to branch out. They want new experiences. So if you really want a new experience, I would highly recommend going to the show this Saturday, because it is a new experience for people even today, and years and years after they were written, because they were so challenging and so different and so unique and so composed with such freedom. The composers had really gained a lot of freedom to do whatever they wanted harmonically and rhythmically. Thanks to these two composers, they really pushed the envelope. So I would highly recommend going out to see the show this Saturday. I'll see you there.